Hey, what's going on guys? Today I'll be going over all of the different things that were added in the 11.10 update. Alright guys, so this update was pretty huge for devices. We got 4 brand new devices, which is going to open up a lot of new possibilities when creating game modes. The first of these devices is a brand new teleporter device. So if you guys have been watching my videos for a long time, you may remember a teleporter tutorial video that I put out on my channel a few months ago. So this new device takes out a lot of the complex mechanics that we needed to make teleports work in Fortnite. No longer do you need to use this complex series of triggers and barriers to be able to push yourself along the map. So all you need to do to get this to work in-game is to place 2 of these devices down. I've put the first of these devices down over here, and I've put another one on a floating platform on the other side of the map. And the best thing about this device is that it works completely out of the box. You don't need to change any of the settings. All you need to do is to place 2 of them down in the level and walk straight through the middle of one, and you'll appear out the other side. The other great thing about this device is it was very hard to make the barrier and trigger system work going both ways. This one works both ways straight away. All you need to do is walk straight through this rift again, and you'll appear back at the starting location where the original device was. Alright, so there's a lot of different options that you can set on this teleporter device. The first of these is assigning a group that this teleporter belongs to. So you can have a bunch of different teleporters belong to different groups. You can have anything from A to Z right now, so that's 26 different options for teleporter groups. And you can also set which teleport group that this teleport targets. So you can have this teleport actually go to a group Z or something like that. So you can set this teleport that belongs to group A to go to a different group and a different system of teleports if you want to. All you need to do is change this setting here. So you can have this teleporter that belongs to group A target a different group anywhere from group A to Z. This way you can have the teleporter device target a different group apart from group A, and you can have the player sent to a different system of teleports. Any way that you want to set this up, it's completely up to you as the player to decide which way you want to set this all up, but right out the box you don't really need to change any of the settings if you're just creating 2 rifts that are linked together. You can also restrict teleporters to certain teams. So if you want a certain team area that's locked away and you need to be on a certain team to be able to access that area, then you can lock down the teleport device and make sure that only that team can use this teleport rift. Going back to the teleport target, that's the group that this teleporter will transport you to. You can have the option to change the target that this teleporter goes to. That way you can send people to different places, so it'll increment when someone enters this device, or you can have the option to set a certain time interval that this teleporter will change through the different targets that it has. So let's say we have this one teleporter device that people walk into, and then you have 5 different options for them to appear out of. So you can basically set this up so the teleporter will change which of the 5 that it goes to when a player enters the device, or you can set it up so that every 5 seconds through to a minute at different time intervals, this teleporter device will change where it goes to. This is a really cool option to have, and it can be used to create dynamic spawns around the map. This is a really cool option to have, and I'm sure there's loads of ideas that people have about how to use this mechanic. Right now, the most obvious use case for this option is to have randomized spawns in your levels. All you'll have is a central place where people spawn after they die, and then they're immediately teleported to one of like 200 different rifts that you've got around your level, creating truly randomized spawns. You can also set whether or not you want this teleporter rift to be visible. That way you can art up your own teleporters, you can create your own teleportation chambers, and you can just choose to have this rift disabled if you want to. You can also turn off the visual effects and the sound effects as well. The next option on this device is absolutely amazing. It's the ability to conserve momentum. Now this option is going to be absolutely amazing for portal levels in the future, where you need players to go up to a certain height, drop into a rift to be able to be shot out in a different direction to be able to make it to a platform somewhere else in the level. This is going to open up a lot of new physics-based levels inside Fortnite, and I think this would be really great for the death run scene as well. You also have the option to face the player in the teleporter direction. That way if you have your teleporter device in a corridor or something like that, so they aren't facing a wall as soon as they finish teleporting. You can also force players to appear at this teleport device when you're receiving from a particular channel. You can do this all automatically using triggers and receivers. There's also options to transmit on certain channels when people enter these teleport devices or when they appear on the other side of a teleport device. This is a really cool option to have if you want to use this device to trigger different mechanic systems that are in your maps. So that was a basic rundown of the teleporter device that got added in 11.10. I'll be creating a separate video on this showing you how to use it and showing you how to use that conserve momentum feature and stuff like that. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that. So the next thing that got added was an attribute trigger. So the attribute trigger basically checks to see whether or not certain requirements have been met before allowing a trigger to pass through. So the way that this works, the player activates a trigger, and instead of that trigger directly activating a device, you can now check to see whether or not the player has done enough things to be able to activate that device. So you can set up different things like whether or not the player has to have got a certain number of eliminations or something like that, and this device can now check to see whether or not that player has enough eliminations or something like that to be able to activate the device. So this is really cool for creating conditional based mechanics. Some of the things that you can check for is for the team. So if you have a trigger somewhere in the world and the player activates it, you can check to see which team they're on. You can check to see if they're a certain class. You can also check to see how many player eliminations that player has, and if they have over 5 eliminations or something like that, then only if they meet the minimum requirement will this attribute trigger pass on the signal to the device and activate the device. If the player has less than 5 eliminations, then this attribute trigger will stop that device from being activated. You can also set it up to see whether or not a player has a certain score, or whether or not the team itself has a minimum amount of score that it needs to be able to activate this device. You can also do the basic trigger things like the amount of times that it can be triggered, whether or not there's a delay. You can hide the visibility. You can also enable and disable this with triggers. And then at the bottom are the 3 main things that you need to set up to make this work. So let's say that a player activates a trigger on channel 1, then we just set this to listen to channel 1. Then we also have the options to set the channels for whether or not the checks are true or whether or not the checks are false. So we can set up an error message if the player doesn't meet the requirement. That was a basic rundown of the attribute trigger. If you want to see a standalone video on this and some of the different mechanics that you can use this device in, then make sure to comment down below so that I can see that you guys want a video on that. The next device that got added to the game is the new perception trigger. This is basically a giant eye. This is a really cool device that's going to open up a lot of new game modes. Basically, this device can be used to see whether or not the player is looking at this device or whether or not they're looking somewhere else. It can also be used to check whether or not this eye can see the player or whether or not the player is hidden behind an object and that this eye can't see them. This would be really cool to create some sort of security system or some stealth missions in the future where you have to sneak around avoiding the cameras. So the way that this device actually works is it has 360 degrees of vision, not just this one side that this digital eye is on. It can see behind it even though it doesn't look like it can. So some of the options that are on this trigger, basically all the settings that are at the top are all to do with the standard trigger device. You'll see them on the standard trigger. The last 4 options, however, are all specific to the perception trigger. So basically you can set whether or not this device will transmit on a certain channel when the device sees a player. So remember that it sees in 360 degrees. So remember that this device can see 360 degrees around it. You can basically set up this device to transmit on a certain channel when this device has a direct line of sight to the player. So when the player is spotted, you can transmit on a certain channel and you can set off some sort of security system, or you can kill the player or something like that. There are lots of different options when it comes to this. You can also have it work the complete opposite way. So if you wanted some sort of hostage system or something that you have to keep your eye on, in that case you'd use this option. Then you could have it pop up on screen and say that the device has lost sight of you. The other 2 options are basically the same, except it's not the device looking for the player, it's the player looking for the device. Again, I might do a standalone video on this device, but I think this one is pretty self-explanatory. Either way, let me know if you want a video on this in the comments down below. The last device that they added was absolutely huge. It's the new item granter device, and this basically simplifies all of the complex mechanics that went into creating random loadout generators that would give you randomized guns and weapon loadouts at the start of a game. This new device makes it super easy and simple to put those types of features into your levels, even if you have no experience with creating mechanics in Fortnite. There are lots of different options on this device in here that I'm not going to go over in this video. I'll be creating a standalone video on this device showing you how to create a brand new randomized loadout generator for your level using this new device. I'll walk you through all the different options that you need to set up on the device to make it work so that you can use that in your own games. So they're all the new devices that got added in this update. There wasn't many new props added to this update. The only thing that got added was the brand new dumpling restaurant. There were also some smaller changes to the existing Halloween props, but the only new prefab or gallery that we got added in this update was the new dumpling restaurant over here. Most of these pieces you could already find in the Lucky Landing gallery, so not really too many new pieces that were added with this new prefab. So one of the biggest changes to Creative is the brand new Creative phone tool and the new Quickbar system that got enabled in this update. I have been using this Quickbar for a few months now and just testing out and giving feedback on the new system. I think for the most part it works pretty well, and I like the new functionality that it brings. The ability to save your own prefabs and being able to carry them between islands is absolutely huge. So gone are the days of running out of memory for placing prefabs. You can now just create a new island, throw down the prefab that you want, save it to your Quickbar, leave the island and go back to the island that you want. I know it's a bit long-winded, but at least you're not stuck anymore and it's a step in the right direction. So to gain access to the new phone and Quickbar menu, you can see it flashing in the bottom left corner of my screen. All I need to do is press the button to activate it. For me, it's between escape and tab. It's this weird dash. When you open the Quickbar, you should see a bunch of different numbers. These are different slots that you can save items to. And to save items to that slot, all you need to do is go around creating the selection that you want using multi-select. So for this, I'm going to select this podium. So I have this podium completely selected now. So all I'm going to do to save this selection to my Quickbar is press and hold 1 on my keyboard, and then that selection will get saved to slot number 1 on my Quickbar. So as you can see, a preview of that selection is shown in my Quickbar, and all I need to do if I want to use this in the future is press 1 on my keyboard, and it instantly spawns all the pieces that I need to be able to place this down. This is really great for speeding up the building process. If you have lots of custom buildings and stuff like that, you can create your own prefabs, save them to the Quickbar, and then you can just spawn massive prefab houses that you've created anywhere in your level or different islands or your friend's islands. So if you create a really cool building on your island and you want to put it in your friend's level, all you need to do is copy it from your island, and then you can go around copy and pasting it on anyone's island that they give you edit permission for. However, with that being said, there are a couple of changes made to the Quickbar that maybe weren't so good. The main one of these being that you can't alter your drop setting or your grid snap setting without first going into the Quickbar menu, then hitting T to bring up the options menu, and then from here you're able to change your drop setting and your grid snap settings. So this is a little bit slower than we're used to. Before we were able to press our hotkey to toggle the different grid spacing, or we're able to press G to turn on drops and stuff like that. Now you have to go through this quick menu. I'm not sure how efficient this is as a solution. I like the fact that this is all in some sort of menu, but I would like the ability to pair these options to a hotkey of my choosing. That way it's just easier and faster for me to build, because if I memorize the hotkeys that I want, then I can just toggle these options on and off without having to go into this menu system. So hopefully they re-enable key bindings for these options in the future. Another thing that was added in this update that isn't completely creative related was the brand new LTM Gunfight. This was something that I created over at Epic. It's basically a 2v2 PvP map where you get assigned a random loadout of guns. Everyone gets assigned the same random loadout each round, but you never know what you're going to end up with. It's set up to be the best of 5 rounds, and whichever team wins the most rounds basically wins the game. There are a bunch of different challenges available for this LTM, so you guys have the ability to unlock some really cool free stuff just by playing this LTM. So make sure to go check it out and let me know what you think in the comments below. Apart from that, I think they were pretty much all of the major things that got updated and added in version 11.10. I think this update was absolutely amazing overall. Lots of new functionality with the new devices and stuff like that. Even the Quickbar, I think, is 95% there, and I think given enough time, you guys will learn the muscle memory to be able to access that and get full use out of that new option and way of working. That being said, guys, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.